Hello, welcome to the Leathertainment Studio Podcast. I'm your host, Tanner Leatherstein. Today we're going to discuss vegan leather, a hot subject in the alternative leather space. And there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of misleading information in the space as far as I know so far, which I'm not an expert. That's why we brought two experts in this space. I think a leading innovator, I can call them, by a company, Deserto. We have the founders here, Adriano and Marte, and we can start by getting to know them. Whoever want to go first, let's get to know you guys. Who are you? What are you doing with Deserto, and how did you start?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Adrián. I am a co-founder of Deserto, and here with Marte.
Hello, my name is Marte Cáceres. I am also a co-founder of Deserto, and we started this business and this idea 4 years ago, and right now which is available in the market.
So it was only
Yes,
4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years.
yeah, yeah. We are
It's
pretty. We are still a startup. We launched our innovation to the market in October 2019. And we happen to work in the automotive industry and also in the fashion industry, working with leather, with synthetics like polyurethane, like PVC. And back in those years, there was not real alternatives out there. Like it was everything was either plastic or animal. And there was interest from the industry to try to do things a little bit better, but it was, it was not the priority, and you didn't have really like plant-based alternatives that could comply with quality, with price, with a lot of characteristics. So years passed by. Marte and I, we decided to leave our jobs and to devote our time to create a solution based on the necessities that we saw that these industries had and the lack of solutions. And being in Mexico and not having much more than cactus, we we thought of making this material out of nopal.
Well, that's very interesting. You're being in Mexico, you just immediately thought of how can we take cactus and then make a leather alternative with it? Or was there an initial research that you stumble upon and then continue that?
It's funny. It's very funny because, as Aaron said, we started this idea because we were working already in the industry, in fashion and automotive, but we were not that happy at all because we were all aware about all the contamination, all the water usage that it's involved in the fashion and in the automotive. So we're thinking how we can create a solution to keep working in this industry, but in a better way. So cactus was everywhere here in Mexico, and of course, one to think cactus in Mexico is for tortillas or for food or something else, but not for doing a material. So the nopal was not the first idea in our minds. So we start other research and development with different plants from the Opuntia, which is a family of the cactus, which has more than 1,000 species. So we first start with different species, but at the end, after 3 years of research and development, we finished with the Opuntia ficus which is an opal of Mexico. So we had to do different trials with different plants, different alternatives to see which one was the best solution in terms of sustainability and efficiency. So at the end, we decided that the cactus, which is also the symbol of Mexico, it was the best choice for us.
Okay, so it took 3 years to develop the material first, and then you launch, and it's been 4 years in the market. So it's about like
Yeah,
7 years adventure you guys are going on this.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And you guys said you were in the industry, automotive and fashion. Which part of the industry were you like sourcing for automotive upholstery, or were you buying and making PU leather alternatives before? Like, what was your involvement before when you noticed this need?
Well, for me, it was in fashion. I was in charge of sourcing materials like leather and synthetics, mainly polyurethanes. And then in the automotive industry, leather and PU and also PVC for the seats. and I also did some other work like indoor and external lighting, LED lighting for the cars, and Marte for mainly for bags and
Yes,
watch
I
strap.
yes, I was involved in the fashion industry for about 3 to 4 years, and I was involved about almost everything in I mean, the company of the brand. It 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 is a fast fashion brand in Mexico, which its focus is in bags and watch straps and accessories. So I was in charge of the sorting of the materials and in the manufacture of the products in Asia. So also the importation and the commercialization of the brand here in Mexico.
Leather or PU in that?
Both, both,
Both?
both.
Okay.
It was like 80% using the PU and PVC, and 10 to 20% using leather.
So this, I think it's a good leadway to the heart of the subject. So you guys worked with leather, you guys worked with PU, and you still find that they're not enough. There is a need for something else. Like, can you explain how did that idea come to you? Like, why PU is not enough? Why leather is not enough? Why you wanted to develop an alternative? Like, what's the motivation?
Well, when I was working in Asia, I spent some years working in the R&D innovating space, and the the program was intent to source for sustainable materials. As I mentioned, at that time, sustainability was not a critical point or aspect of business, but that was what I was there for. So I travel around the world and I saw a lot of materials, a lot of developments, opportunities, but there was not a material out there that could reduce in important numbers the environmental impact that could be immediately applicable to the industry in a scale way that had a competitive price as well. And in other words, everything was at laboratory stage and not compliant with the real needs of the industry in a size perspective. So for me, it was a breaking point when I wanted to push things forward, and I didn't really see a lot of opportunities for sustainability at that time in the industries that I was working with, and I didn't want to keep working like sourcing leather or synthetics, knowing the flaws in the value chains, no. So I just wanted to keep going into the line of sourcing something different that can be made in a better way.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And
Do you have some? Yeah.
in my case, yeah, in my case, for example, once I graduate in Mexico, I study international business. So my first job once I graduate was working in the aloe vera industry. So I was doing flush cleaners with the plant base of the aloe vera. So I was extracting a protein from the aloe to create new products for replacing all the chemicals that are involved of the flush cleaners. So I was aware that there are so many proteins in the world that can act as a chemical, but without being from the petroleum base. So so we're thinking, if for example the aloe vera plant is very good for doing cosmetics or doing creams for the skin, why do not use it for create its own skin or something different? So we were just thinking every day different thinkings about how we can create some solutions for the industry. And then I quit in that job because I didn't make it possible because it was very hard to achieve that flush cleaner. And then I started working in the fashion. And once I was in the fashion, I was aware that that industry was very important in terms of in terms of money, of economics, because it's a huge industry. But once you seek and once you try to look what's behind that, you see a lot of things that you get sick. So once you know that, and was all because the materials, all because the PVC, all because the animal leather, all the cruelty animal. It's huge that industry. So we were not happy with that. So we just said, "Hey, Adrián, Marte, we have to do something. We have the experience in the industry. We have all the tools. We just need to see how to make it." Of course, at that time was hard for us because we had not the idea of how to start. So we took
Yeah.
all the experts in different industries and areas to to achieve a good result. Because of course, Adrian and I, we had the idea, we had all the initial resources, all the initial developments, but we took different experts in different fields to achieve this material.
So, what is vegan leather in your definition? Like, what defines vegan leather in its most true form?
To me, vegan leather is a plant-based material that incorporates at a certain level uh, a plant-based content replacing something else, and in the totality of the material there is not a single ingredient coming from an animal. That, for to me, that's what vegan leather. If we call vegan leather something that is plastic and it doesn't have any plant based content in it, to me that's greenwashing.
For me, what it is not vegan leather is a PVC, is a polyurethane, and leather. For that's not at all vegan leather. Vegan leather for me needs to be something which is from the plant-based source.
So that's perfect. And I believe I was thinking I was on the same path. People who live the vegan lifestyle, I think they align with this definition you just gave. They don't want to buy something that is plastic just labeled as vegan leather. Technically, it is true. Plastic is not coming from animals and it may be animal free, but it doesn't represent the true soul of vegan label in that sense if it's plastic only. But as we all know now, since this is the trend and leather industry or fake leather industry has took advantage of these kind of trends before, and they started labeling what was before PU leather, what was before faux leather. Now it's labeled as vegan leather all over the place, and unfortunately this confuses some people, right? And who are trying to go for animal-free alternatives, but also want to have something that is more sustainable than plastic. What do you think about this confusing labeling practice, and what can we do about it?
Well, I think it's very unfair that some brands want to leverage on the interest of the end consumer wanting sustainable or plant-based materials to label their plastic products as vegan and sustainable. I mean, in those specific cases, they are not using anything sustainable, and they are just hanging a label saying that it's vegan because they want to leverage or piggyback on the work that companies like ours is actually doing. You know, we are not the only one in the plant-based space. There are several, and every day there are more and more, and we are working very hard to try to ameliorate a very big industry with the resources that we have, which are minimum in comparison to the size of the market. And nowadays we are seeing a lot of traction going on and interest and from governments, from non-profit organizations, from end consumers. And when you see a label marking a plastic product that uses a polyurethane or a PVC that has been around in the market for many years and call it vegan, I think it's a little bit sketchy, no?
It is.
There, there's something very funny what is happening in the markets right now, that there are big brands, middle brands that, for example, they are gonna launch a, a new collection which is gonna be vegan in 100%, and maybe it's in 10 colors, and one or two colors is made from a plant-based material. I don't know, Desserto, another one, and the other eight colors are made from just a polyurethane or PVC, and they label all the collection that in a vegan leather way. And then so when do all the post on all the marketing, they just put like the bag which is from the plant base, and they put this is a vegan material, this is a cactus based product, blah blah. But all the rest, is what it's going in a bad marketing, because all the consumers, all the people is thinking that the complete collection, as it is marked together with Desert in a vegan marketing, they say that all the collection is in a vegan way of materials, and that's how all the consumers are making all the confusions in the head, because they right now they don't know what's vegan or what's not vegan, because the brand is not put it in the label which is or which is not. They just put vegan leather, and then the consumer is going to be, I don't know which one it is, you know.
Exactly. That's very sad to see this misleading, tricky practices. But this is why we're having this conversation. Hopefully, this will help some people, clarify the space a little bit. And the whole point is, if you're vegan, if you want to use something not from animals, and you're away from, you don't want the plastic either, you understand the subject a little bit more and look for labels, look for keywords that will give you those clues. If the company or product you're looking at is not trying to cheat you with those, labels, and you make better decisions. So one thing I was reading the other day, the Tesla, I saw that they were calling vegan leather in their car upholstery, car seats, and I found conflicting stories, and as far as I understand, they weren't initially sharing the source of the material and full composition of it, like what was it made out of, and they initially seen some problems with the materials they used. Probably they're getting improvements, continuously working on it, upon reading further articles. But do you guys have any idea in this car seat industry, or in Tesla's specific case, what kind of material they were using that they were clearly labeling it's vegan leather?
We don't know. Actually, in our company, we have two brands. One is Desserto, which is our cactus-based material for the fashion industry, and Desertex, which is our cactus-based material for the automotive industry. These are completely separate lines, and our material has not been used by many automotive companies so far. It is only for OEMs to evaluate and nominate to use in the next year or so. And for this specific case with Tesla, I have no idea what material they were using. And but if they want, there's a Texas here, we comply.
Exactly, like that's my point. If they were advertising their cars as being vegan leather, and if it's PU, I'll be like, hold on, let's be clear, let's get real, right? These guys are trying to make something truly vegan and vegetable sourced. Why not use that if you're going to use that labeling? So I called them too, like, hey, come check out the real vegan leathers if you're going with plastic options.
They just opened a new facility in Mexico, so it's gonna be closer.
That's great.
Exactly.
That's great. I hope you guys start talking to them, and maybe more companies who are interested. So, what do you first actually being interested in this area? Are you guys vegan yourselves? Like, is that where the urge coming from? Like, to find an alternative that's not coming from animals? It's a personal question. I know if you want to answer or not. Just wanted to ask.
No, in my case, I'm not vegan. I think that each person, each company, each individuals, each person put its in its own way help the industry in its own manner. So, but in my case, I'm not.
Right.
Yeah, no, me either. But I do believe in reducing many things that we do in our life. No, it's what we call reductionism. If
Right.
you don't have to eat beef every day, you don't have to drive every day. I personally don't even have a car. I rather just to walk, use public transportation, reduce the amount of meat that I eat, and if there are other options, I just go with it as well. And I guess that's very much also how Deserto is. We are a company that works around finding the balance between performance, sustainability, improving the industry as it is right now, and step by step build a better industry.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Because yeah, there could be many motivations behind providing a solution like this, innovating in this space, or even consumer-wise. You don't have to be vegan, but you can care about other aspects of things, and you might have the tendency towards it. What do you
Yeah.
think about the customers of vegan leather, or your? I'm thinking your customers are more of the brands and the makers that is producing some end product for the vegan market, and I'm talking about this end user. Who is this customer, and what is their motivation behind seeking vegan options, and what they're trying to accomplish with this choice?
Well, from my point of view, we have built a beautiful community in these 4 years. We have all sorts of customers, customers who are vegan, customers who care about animals, customers who care about reducing their footprint, environmentally speaking. So I guess that there are many different things that are actually uh, asking for plant-based materials as alternative to plastics or leather. In a nutshell, I would say that um, the main force driven by the end consumer behind the plant-based industry is a consciousness on the environmental impact that we have with the traditional practices that can be improved, not only on the environment but also people, social. I'm talking about also economic. Um, then there is also a big part that it's about animal respect to animal life. We understand that there are many points of view around animal skin and the meat industry and all this. Uh, I guess it all comes down to, hey, if you're not eating an animal, like why do you want to kill it for its skin? Like this is maybe a little bit too uh, like we may be already I we are already like years ahead of that, I guess. uh, but yeah, I mean, reasons are a lot.
So here's what I think about that part of the meat industry and the leather thing. There is also a misconception there, which I'm trying to highlight, like inform people about this. I grew up in the tanneries. I grew up making leather, and I can tell you one thing: no cow, sheep, or goat ever killed for their skins, and it will never be because a cow hide could be about 50, $60, and no one will raise a cow or kill a cow for their skin. But when there's a demand for meat, like I eat meat, and because of my demand, people are motivated to produce this meat. And as a result, there is this waste raw hide, and then tanneries take it, process it, and give it a second life as a material. And to me, it's a form of upcycling because otherwise that is a waste that has to be managed, and it's a huge waste given how big the meat industry is today. Um,
All right.
but definitely, I see the concerns about environmental practices of the tanneries and how clean it is, the water usage and things like that. Again, like how you guys working to improve your sustainability, your practice, your quality and performance of the product. I think tannery is also running in a different path, but reducing their impact. They're trying to find ways to tan leather without using water or using minimal water and things like that. But when I think I have a huge respect when people don't eat meat and they have this idea of like we have to respect the animals. We don't eat them. If you're not eat them, then you don't use the skins either. Like it's a very given like parallel mindset. So I think I have a huge respect for what you're doing to provide an alternative to these people. They're truly seeking an alternative. They need it, and they really don't want that petroleum stuff because it's worse, right? If you're not using that leather that was a waste,
Yeah.
now you're gonna have to use something plastic that has to be manufactured with impact on the environment, and then it's not biodegradable. It goes to the wastelands and stays there. So that was my take on the leather side and vegan. So I don't see that this is a competition between vegan and
No.
true leather. but I see this like
Eh,
a complementary system.
It
Yeah,
is, it is very, very important to mention and tell all the people and all the market, all the consumers that Deserto is not leather. I mean, we are not a leather. We know that we are an alternative. We're a new material, so we are not trying to fight and eliminate the leather of the industry. Of course not. It's impossible. There's a huge market that use leather, and there is a new way of doing leather which is becoming better. So it's good. So what we're doing is let the people know that there are new things in the market that can be applied for the same applications without the necessity of doing things that some people do not like. So I think that the industries are, as all the individuals must transit into sustainability, not just buying the set of new things, but can also buy leather which is produced in a better way. I think that the pandemic came as a reminder for all of us that we're running out of time, and the comprehensive time is very important for environment, and it's the responsibility of all of us. So right now, it's not just thinking of the final material, I mean, in the bag or in the shoe. It's thinking how was the material done, how was the process. But but the leather is also changing, and it's good that we are right now very active in the market because we are pushing the leather to change in a better way, and that's what we like.
Absolutely. It's a
yeah,
great point. When you guys are trying so hard to, raise a concern about sustainability and concerns of environment, then leather industry has to take it a bit more aggressively to improve themselves too, right? So it's another point. You're actually contributing and making each other better.
exactly. This is the part that I wanted to add a little bit more into, Tanner. So it is not a question of oh, it's leather or plastics or plant-based. Like we are all in the same industry, and the needs of the industry are way larger than what one single solution can deliver. I guess that we are not here to like point fingers, and we just do our stuff, and we are happy to see that our work is making others emerge, and other industries, like for example the leather industry, to accelerate, to try to tan leather in a better way. And uh, and then going back a little bit into the animal life, point of things. um, the, the 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 thing is that when we were working in the leather industry, we are very aware of the tanning traditional processes as well. And from a non-vegan point of view, I totally agree with what you just said. Like if the food industry is taking the life of an animal to feed some people, and then you have the skin, and if you can use the skin and upcycle it to convert it like in a bag that is going to last for 20 years, that sounds fantastic. When the real problem for the leather industry comes with the amount of chemicals that are used in the tanning process to make that actual skin of the animal convert into a handbag that can last 20 years, no? That now is improving a lot. And so I guess that, I mean, there are no perfect solutions. There are only steps forward. And I really appreciate you having us to speak about all this, that sustainability is not only about the environment, it's also about economics, it's about society, it's transparency, traceability, like being accountable. As a brand, you have to be accountable for the impact that you are generating when you are releasing a product to the market. And you have to be also very transparent when you communicate to the customer what they are buying. Otherwise, we are all like in cross sections where nothing makes sense.
Exactly. Perfect explanation. So thank you guys for that. I'm hoping people are getting some insights from this, and how these different efforts providing a material to the bag industry or the fashion people. So many different efforts are being done to accommodate different needs, different lifestyles, and each one makes everybody's lives better. So I truly appreciate what you guys are doing there. And what can you tell us about Deserto and the Cactus leather, about the sustainability and environmental aspect of it. To open it up a little bit, we're saying it's more sustainable. Just can you explain in as simple way as possible why Cactus is more sustainable, how it compares to those plastic alternatives? Is it 100% plant-based, or I think there's an upper layer and there's a bottom backing. What's the bottom material like? How can we understand a little bit more about what do you guys do?
Our most sustainable or technologically advanced material version is up to 90% plant-based, and the rest is pigments and additives to make the material resistant enough. We are using as a backing different carriers, depends what we're building, can be recycled cotton or a recycled polyester textile or a mix of them. But the sustainability, it is very important to clarify that sustainability is not only about the plant-based content in a product. Sustainability is about assessing the impact from ground zero, in this case, land. So what's happening at the land where we're planting the cactus? We are not actually taking land that can be used for other agricultural purposes. We are reforesting deteriorated soil that it's pretty much abandoned. These are perennial crops that can last up to 8 years, absorbing carbon dioxide, enriching biodiversity in the region. We harvest once or twice a year. We transform them into the material, and there is no irrigation. There is something that I love about cactus. It's a little bit technical, but I would like to mention. The more we investigate this plant, the more we fall in love with it because of the intelligence that it has itself. That's why it survives in the desert. Like without water, like it's very efficient at capturing the humidity present in the atmosphere, and that's how it actually survives. It only needs 1/5 of water if you compare it with other plants to grow 1 kilogram of biomass. So it's a plant that is very, very efficient. It has, as Marte mentioned, some proteins that can be used in ways that can replace chemicals or fossil fuel chemicals. And so when you take into consideration all these aspects, then you can say, okay, this material is sustainable because of this, and that, not only because of the biocontent. No?
Perfect. Like I didn't know any of that part, and I love the way that you explain it's nature's wisdom, right? The cactus knows how to survive in that environment and finds its water from nowhere and gives us something to work with. It's nature created us, nature created leather, nature creates cactus, and there is an infinite intelligence behind all this stuff that we can't even understand. We're just trying to explore.
Yeah, cactus is magical. Yeah, but as a resume for myself, for example, I think that the plant-based content is not the critical point of the material. I think what is critical in a material is to pay attention where all the raw materials that includes it, where are they produced, and how much impact they have in the environment. For example, so we need to know how much water, how many fertilizers, how many chemicals are being used to create 1 kilogram of biomass, how many land is used for growing this plant, for example. There are many things that are involved, but I think that once we achieve a plant that give us very sustainability aspects like the cactus, we can work in a great material. For example, what we're doing in Deserto is to work with recycled fiber as a backer with a coating of the cactus bio-based material. So in this case, we're able to contribute in the environment in two ways. One is by doing a 90% plant-based coating, so we can create biodegradable resins, and by using recycled contents in the fabrics, we can use what is already in the market and in the oceans to give a second life. So this is a multi-way of how we can help the environment using cactus and recycled fibers in a one-way material.
Perfect. And can you tell me about the production a little bit? You said you harvest once or twice a year. Do you get the whole cactus, or is it like trimmings of the branches and then it continues growing? That's the first question. And then second, what's the production process? Then it goes to be mashed to get the biomass, and then you blend it into a coating, and then lay it onto the backing and press it and all that stuff. Like, how long is the production change after the cactus?
So it takes about 1 year to a forest, one deteriorated soil with cacti until you can harvest it. When you harvest these mature pads that weighs between 2 to 3 kilograms, and we send them to a stage in the farm where we mesh them, and then this mesh is spread on a solarium. In the solarium, it stands like 2 to 3 days until it reaches the humidity levels that we need, and then it's sent to an in-house facility where we do a separation of fibers and then the extraction of proteins. So there is a byproduct in this process, and this byproduct is directed to the farming industry, and then it's transformed into food grade products like dietary supplements, pills. It has very, very good properties in terms of fiber and minerals. And so this is a business that it's left aside for the farmers to benefit from. We don't own the land. We rather work with farmers because we believe that the farming industry, Deserto for the farming industry, for our suppliers, is a way for them to grow. At least here in Mexico, the agricultural sector is pretty much abandoned, and it's as resilient as cactus. So for us, it didn't really make sense to, hey, let's go and monopolize our supply chain. Like, we don't want to do that. We'd rather work with them to grow together. We are giving cactus its highest value form, and not because cactus can be eaten. It means that we are having a conflict of interest with the food industry, and now we're gonna deforest all the cactus in Mexico. And now Mexico is the world's bigger producer and consumer of cactus, and also exporter in the world. And in the last 6 to 7 years, the output reduced like 60%. So this is a good way to stimulate this practice in Mexico, which has been very important for many years.
And to be honest, we're very proud to work with the cactus in Mexico because this is a symbolic plant for us. But being more than a national symbol of Mexico because it's in the flag, this is a plant that has the potential to generate thousands and thousands of jobs in the national way, in the food industry, in the cosmetic industry, in construction, in painting. There are many industries that use the cactus right now, so this plant for us is very, very important. And right now, that is giving us all new jobs in the fashion industry, doing materials. This is very, very important for the economics in Mexico and for us because we're proud to use a symbolic plant in the fashion industry, which is offering a new solution for the fashion and for the automotive industry. So all the ways that Adrian said about the sustainability aspects are very, very important because of course, so once we do the launch and once we do a material, it's important to take into consideration everything. But we started a material in 2019 with a 30% plant base. So right now we're in a 90% plant base. So we never stop of doing new innovation and doing new formulation to achieve new results. So I think that by next year we will have a 95%, and maybe in the early future we can achieve the 100% plant base. So this is our goal, and of course we will never stop doing new solutions for the industry because that's what we want forward. So we want to give solutions for industry so we can keep growing in a better, greener way.
That's perfect. A couple points you mentioned, the jobs you create in the economy, in a country that will need those jobs. It's incredibly important aspect of what you guys do as well. So on the other hand, I was going to ask, and I kind of skipped because of the flow of the conversation. I'm sure you guys evolving the technology since you have began, and now you said from 30% to 90% in 4 years. It's pretty big leap. So congratulations on that, like continuing innovation, and hopefully we see you accomplish the same thing with 100% at some point, with maybe even improved durability and qualities of the product. So I wanted to ask about that durability of vegan leathers and the cactus leather. This is kind of like two questions combined. We can do it in a way. Your product, cactus based, how durable it is, like how long can it be used? What's shortcomings of it, maybe in the long run, and what other alternatives in there in the true vegan leather definition? We know cactus is not the only one, and other companies are trying to do developments with using other plants, and which options are out there, and how does it compare to the cactus option?
Um, yeah, this what mentioned Marte. It's very important in terms of the how we see sustainability and Deserto as a solution provider. We don't release materials to the market that we know that cannot comply with quality because I mean, when we launched our first generation of materials, it is not that we couldn't offer something that had a bigger or larger amount of bio-based content, but we needed to do the testing because then you can harm the industry. If you promise something and then you bring it to the market and it doesn't comply with the quality specifications, or maybe then you have a big order and you don't have the production capacity, or you release a material that is very expensive, then companies are going to immediately think, oh, it's plant-based, I don't want to touch it, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. So every time that we release a generation of Deserto to the market, we test it and we make sure that it is scalable, that it is competent in terms of quality, and that it is also it makes sense from a price point of view. My best answer to your question, Tanner, would be the fact that we partner with BMW. You can also see a partnership we did for a project with Mercedes-Benz. We have critical automotive testings done with many automotive companies, OEMs around the world. So far, our material is the one that gives them the most optimistic for the plant-based future in the automotive industry, because in Desertex, for instance, they see an entirely focused material for the automotive industry that pass the critical testing compared to leather or compared to synthetic like PU. And this is very difficult to achieve because as Marte mentioned, plant-based materials are plant-based materials. This cannot be compared at 100% with leather or with synthetics because they are chemically different. And we have managed to bring a plant-based material that is competing at that level in terms of quality and price. Again, there is no single solution for everything. If you use if you use a handbag material to make a boot or some sneakers, you're gonna have trouble. So you really need. This is a work that we do a lot with. We work a lot with manufacturers and designers to help them choose the best Deserto material that we have available for their design, because we have since we launched the company until now, we have more than 100 varieties of materials, because we also like to work on bespoke basis. So you tell me what exactly is what you need in terms of performance, in terms of sustainability, in terms of price, and then we design a material for you that can fit your needs, because everyone has something different on their mind.
A very special quote for Deserto is the perfect balance between sustainability and performance. That's very important of Deserto because that's something that is true. We never launch one material to the market if we are not very sure that is compatible for its own or its specific application. And a difference between us and between the other partners which are in other plant-based materials is that I think that Deserto is a real solution in terms of industrial capacity. Because in order to be a solution, you need to give material, you need to supply to the huge brands, to the huge industry. And if you are not ready for that, then I think that for now it's not the best solution in the market. So right now we can have materials with a production capacity of more than 1 million meters per month, which for now is a huge quantity of supply. Also, it's important to know that all the materials that we have in Deserto are not subject to a minimum order quantity because we think and we want to let the people know that sustainability should not be exclusive. Sustainability should be for everybody, so everybody could be able to achieve or buy 1 meter without the necessity of giving all its earns or all the money they have. No, it needs to be something easy for everybody. Easy to buy, easy to apply, easy to use, easy in everything aspects. So that's what we want to do in Deserto. Make a material which can be purchased for a student, for a small brand, for a new company. Anybody can purchase Deserto because all the people, all the new generations are important for the future. So if right now we help these small brands or these students, I think that in the future they're going to be already using vegan materials, which are going to be better for the industry.
Definitely, the minimum order quantities are, I think, very important. It's from you guys' business standpoint, it's a great strategic advantage to be able to accommodate smaller brands, new coming people in the market, because MOQs are big obstacles to try something. And as I see with the globalization and democratization of industries, all industries, a lot of small brands and new startups coming into every space with new ideas, and these people don't have that much resources, and probably they're going to stay as a small company for a long time by
Yeah.
choice. So accommodating these people is a huge advantage no matter what you're producing, I think, in today's environment. So it's a great thing you have in the business model. So, and I wanted to touch upon it again, like kind of repeating that part of the question a little bit. What other plant-based vegan leathers you are aware of being used in a sizable manner today in the market? Like I've heard of pineapple, but I'm not an expert. I'm sure you guys are aware of probably all of them. Can you mention some of it, and then and how they are in your opinion? It's not to judge or criticize any of them, just to make people aware, like what other things can be done into vegan leathers.
We have many clients in the already, and many of them already use the pineapple material, use the apple material, the grape material, the mango materials, and all the feedback is good. I mean, I think that each material, each focus in its own different application. So, for example, the pineapple material, which is it's a very nice product, is directed for a very specific application. And same for us. So the Deserto is specific application for bags, for accessory, footwear, etc. So each material is doing its own part to achieve as a very specific market in the same industry. So I think that it's not which one is the best, which one is the worst. I think that each material is the best in its own specific area. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. It's same in the leather, right? Like when I'm making a wallet, I don't want to use a lambskin.
Yeah,
I
you
prefer lambskins when I'm making a jacket, but then I don't want to use probably a bull hide for a
yeah.
for a jacket. There's better
Right.
applications. Pretty much the
That's
same
my
thing, I
point.
think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point. Yeah.
Even in the leather space, there are some very interesting things. I read something about like growing animal skin cells to have like a hide from the lab grown cells, so you don't have this cruelty, animal cruelty side of the story. Also, there are mushrooms. Um, there are rubbers that are replacing synthetics as well, that are natural rubbers. There are so many things going on right now, and everything is very exciting. I think that the future of the industry is more exciting than ever because like really technology is coming in to change stuff, and that's very exciting. Uh, yeah, it
Oh,
keeps me very motivated.
I can see that. I can see your excitement, and that's kind of tying into one of my other questions. How do you see the future of this space? And you already answered. There's so many people trying to explore different alternatives, which I've never heard of that skin cells being developed off of animals, just in the lab environment probably. Um, that's super interesting, today is today, but tomorrow is always different. We, as human beings, we explore, we learn, we develop stuff. So who knows what's gonna come? Maybe the real leather can be done off of animals at some point too. That's if
Yeah.
somebody already start trying it. We're only getting faster by learning and innovating in all aspects of life. So that's really cool. And what is the price situation when it comes to vegan leather? You can give the example from Deserto. Comparing to PU leather alternatives, that plastics and PUs, and comparing to real leather, like where does it sit in terms of price point for square meter?
Our materials price is like from 20 to 30, 38 US dollars per square meter. So it's pretty much in the range
Between
of leather and also some of the synthetics, no? I am not gonna talk about $3 PVC.
Right. Yeah, there are expensive PVCs, which I don't understand, but yeah, if it's 20 to 38, definitely it's in the mid to lower range of leather. It compares to those prices. So I never knew that before. So thanks for that. Um,
and uh, and also it's important to mention, I mean, once you are doing all the comparison between prices, it's also good to compare the usage that you can use in the material. For example, in Deserto, you can use almost the 98% of the material, and in leather, as you know, you have to there is like 30% waste of the square meter because it has scratches or different things, so it's not uniform. So it's also once you do the comparison, we're almost like in the same.
right. Yeah, leather being a natural imperfect material, there's more
Yeah,
droppings. Again, depending on the finishes you use and the designs you can get higher or lower efficiencies. But I'm assuming your products is on a roll in a certain width, and
yeah,
you sell it by meters, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's much more like standard, so you can get patterns and be very efficient with it. So, and pretty much like one of my last two questions. Let's go with this. What are the shortcomings or the challenges that you face today in going with the cactus leather? What is your biggest challenge in terms of um, in the innovation? Increasing the durability or production capacity, or marketing or getting buy-in from the brands. Like, what's the biggest challenge as a businessman you guys facing in this business?
Well, I guess most people will agree with me when I say that nowadays our biggest challenge is the current global politics and economy. It's very, very tough times we are going through. As a company, we keep R&D as the core of the company. We try to innovate and bring new materials to the market every time. Durability as we advance in different areas like automotive, aviation, performance footwear. So every day our customers help us to raise the bar more and more in terms of everything: performance, sustainability, range of colors, textures. But yes, I mean, as a startup, navigating these current situations is very, very tough. I mean, we were born just like a couple of months before the pandemic outbreak.
Right.
It was October 2019. And then we had the pandemic, markets closed. We managed to go through this problem. And now we have all this situation. But in some way, it kind of makes things much more interesting, and everything we do give us like a better um, tastes better, because we are some of the ones that are contributing to change things for good in our own niche, no? And no, I mean, waking up every day, uh, reading the reviews from customers or end consumers is very motivating.
Perfect.
I think that the very hard thing that we have been facing since the beginning and still is a mindset transition. Is how to let the people, how to let the market know that these alternatives are good because I mean, when they think and when they hear something about vegan leather or plant-based material, they say, nah, it's nothing. It's much better the leather industry. It's much better than the PVC. But
Yeah.
I mean, we said, why don't you try? Please just try the material, use it, and then you speak. But it's hard to make this transition because since past decades, since past years and years, it's been always leather and PVC and PU. So now that are new materials in the market that are plant-based material, it's hard to make this change. But when it's done, it's gonna be easier for everybody. And from our point of view, I mean, Deserto is doing its job because we're keeping all the facilities for all the brands, all the companies. We open a facility in Italy. We have the facility in Mexico. We're opening a new one in Asia next year, maybe. So we're doing our job to make it easy for the industry because we know that it's hard to change. But when they start changing, I think that it's going to be very, very good for everybody and for us and on the market, of course.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
agree with Marte. Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges. It's also communication. So that's also why we thank you for having us to speak from our side of the story, because we have to communicate to people what's leather, what's vegan leather, what's plant-based leather, what's plastic, how you miscommunication, misinformation can be uh, seen or identified. And I guess that as we were just all speaking about this, like the more we all work towards improving, it's better for everyone.
I absolutely agree. So this is all about helping people understand this space better, understand what leather is, understand what vegan leather is, understand what plastic is. And choice is theirs, right? You have different needs, you have different lifestyles and mindsets. Please choose whatever works best for you after, understanding it. My whole goal is to help them clarify the space a little bit because unfortunately, there's misleading practices in PU leather labeling. There's misleading practices in different alternative materials labeling. So we want to make it a little bit more clear for them so they can make better decisions. And I thank you guys for pushing the limit on that and creating an alternative, a sustainable plant-based alternative, and giving a choice for people who don't want to use animal products because it is a right and it is a lifestyle, and they should have some options that looks like leather, that feels like leather, and kind of functions like leather. So what you guys are doing is, I think, in many ways, it's a great service to the humankind. So I appreciate that. And as final question here, what brands work with your material today that we might know? Where people can buy those products, like in what forms? In production capacity, in trials, maybe you're working with 100 different brands, but what's readily available in some brands that we might know, in what format of products? And that's the end user side. And if there is any uh, makers that want to develop products using vegan leathers, how do they reach out to you? Where do they find your products as a material to put into their work?
In our Instagram, in the tag section, you can see a lot of brands that they use our material to make different products. And also on our main page, we post like the most relevant collaborations of the month. There are handbags, shoes, furniture, many products. So yeah, I guess that the most convenient way would be to go there and dive in to see what's out there.
I know it was available on Fossil. That's where I got the first brand.
Yeah.
But again, like,
Yes,
you know,
actually,
it's all your
yes,
customers. You don't
actually,
want to name one and leave other ones out. I understand that.
yes, actually,
No,
Fossil was one of the first clients that we had, and it's still one of the most important for us because they were one of the first big brands that believe in us. So it was like a good way to start a big collaboration with Fossil. But we did, for example, another ones with Adidas Boxing, with North Face, Mercedes, Luteca, Onitsuka Tiger, Fossil, H&M, Karl Lagerfeld, and different brands that are small, medium, also big ones, but are not yet in the market. Also, we did a very important collaboration with Givenchy from the LVMH group, which was one very hard to achieve, but is still in the market. And you can find all these products in the stores of the brands. For the certain materials, I mean, you can contact us by email, by Instagram, or by Facebook. You're saying that you want to purchase 1 meter or see the catalog because the catalog is available also in the web page. So you can just go into the web page and do your order, and then one people from our sales team is gonna be in contact to you to do all the process of the purchasing of materials. But this is very easy to be honest. So
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for spending the time with us, helping us understand the vegan leather aspect and what you guys do better here in this hour. I hope it was helpful for some people um, to navigate the leather alternative space a little bit better. And I personally thank you guys for pushing the bar and innovating in the space, providing an alternative for people who don't want to use animal products, and you give them a better alternative, more sustainable than plastic. So it's truly a noble work you guys doing. I'm very happy to meet you two here. Hopefully one day we meet in person. Maybe we visit Mexico, or maybe we run into each other in Italy, or who knows, where, maybe in Asia, maybe in a leather fair, who knows. But I'll be looking forward to meeting you two in person. And again, thank you so much for being here, and best of luck with pushing the innovation on that end.